What if Canada's best strategy wasn't to fight America and wasn't to please America, but simply to make sure it had somewhere else to go? More than 2,000 years ago, Eastern strategists observed a simple truth. A clever rabbit never relies on a single escape tunnel. Because if the hunter finds it, the game is over. Today, Canada finds itself in that exact position. The United States is Canada's largest trading partner, its closest ally, its biggest customer. Over 75% of Canadian exports go straight to the US. It is one of the most successful economic partnerships in history, but also a massive dependency. So, what happens when your biggest customer becomes unpredictable, when tariffs become a political weapon and trade agreements are rewritten on a whim? Ancient history might just have the playbook Canada needs, the stratagem three boroughs. In traditional culture, there is a famous idiom, the cunning rabbit has three burrows. The logic is brutal but simple. A rabbit with only one hiding spot has no future. If danger blocks the entrance, it's trapped. But a rabbit with three burrows has options. If one path gets blocked, another snaps open. This strategy isn't about abandoning your home, it's about eliminating a single point of failure. For centuries, this mindset has guided survival, business, and geopolitics. And right now, it perfectly describes Canada's modern dilemma. Burrow 1, the American reality. Let's look at the facts. Canada is not leaving the United States, and America is not leaving Canada. The two economies are hardwired into each other. Every single day, oil and gas flow south through pipelines. Automobile parts cross the border multiple times before a single car is finished. Millions of North American jobs depend on this seamless grid. Geography is destiny. You cannot negotiate with a map. Canada shares the world's longest undefended border with a global superpower. No election, no tariff, and no politician can change that geographic reality. Which means Canada's first borough will always be America. But should it be the only one? The risk of the single customer. Imagine running a business where one single client buys 75% of everything you make. You would treat that client like royalty, but you would also live in absolute terror of them walking away. That is Canada's vulnerability. Every time Washington talks about sweeping tariffs or economic nationalism, Ottawa holds its breath. North American business leaders are quickly realizing that uncertainty is the new normal, and when the future is uncertain, alternatives become priceless. Not because Canada wants to replace America, that's impossible, but because Canada needs leverage, and leverage only comes when you have the power to walk away to another door. Enter the second borough, Europe. Over the past decade, Canada has quietly built a massive economic bridge across the Atlantic through CETA, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. The strategy here is sophisticated. Europe is wealthy, stable, and democratic. More importantly, Western Europe is desperate to secure its supply chains away from geopolitical adversaries. This is where Canada shines. Think about what the modern world runs on: critical minerals, clean energy, and secure tech inputs. Canada has them, Europe needs them. By positioning itself as the ultimate friend-shoring partner, Canada isn't just selling goods, it's selling stability. If North American trade walls go up, European markets offer a vital insurance policy. Sometimes, just having a second option changes how your primary partner treats you at the negotiating table. But a truly cunning rabbit doesn't stop at 2. It builds 3. Canada's third borough lies across the Pacific. Through the CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership Canada has gained a massive head start in the world's fastest-growing economic zone. We are talking about Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, and Australia. This isn't about choosing sides in a superpower conflict between Washington and Beijing. It's about building a diversified web. The global economy is fragmenting. Supply chains are regionalizing. Countries that lock themselves into a single trade bloc will be highly vulnerable. Countries that maintain radical flexibility will win. Here is the ultimate paradox of the three boroughs strategy. Canada diversifying its trade doesn't weaken its bond with America, it actually makes it healthier. Why? Because relationships built entirely on desperate dependence are fragile and breed resentment. Relationships built on choice are resilient. If Canada develops stronger alternative markets, it becomes less vulnerable to sudden economic shocks. A more secure, economically resilient Canada makes for a much stronger, more reliable neighbor for the United States. Stability on the northern border benefits everyone, including Washington. Ancient wisdom reminds us that survival isn't about predicting the next crisis. It's about being prepared for any crisis. The clever rabbit doesn't know where the hunter will strike. It simply knows that sooner or later a threat will appear. So, it digs. Canada cannot change its geography. The US will always be its primary economic engine, its closest neighbor, and its vital ally. But in a world defined by volatility, relying on a single exit is no longer an option. By securing its position in Europe, expanding into the Indo-Pacific, and strengthening its domestic resilience, Canada is playing a very old, very smart game. Because when the rules of global trade change overnight, options aren't just a luxury. Options are power. In our next episode, we look at another legendary ancient strategy: borrow a boat to cross the sea. How has Mexico utilized its own unique position, massive global investment, and shifting supply chains to become the absolute biggest winner of modern North American trade? And can that massive momentum survive the upcoming USMCA renegotiations? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us for part 3. The global economic.